Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Sarah and Adam Show. We are here to talk about the tales of the Jedi.
hmm
And apparently, Sarah wants to talk about news today. How are you today, Sarah?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm excited to talk about news finally.
I was gonna say, what do you mean? Apparently, I want to talk about news.
Last time you were like, we're just gonna skip news. I was like, okay, let's skip news.
There was like
Yes,
barely
Sarah.
anything.
No, there was plenty, but it was plenitudinous, and you just wanted to skip it. That's fine.
So, do you want to skip it?
Why don't we just make a tradition of skipping news? Just kidding. Let's talk about news. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Mando is slated for March 1st.
Yeah, season 3. That
Yeah.
is. It's soon. Three months,
I,
right?
yeah, I mean, I guess exactly 3 months from when this is recorded, December 1st to
March
March
1st.
1st.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be good. Um, When does Bad Batch start? It's in early January. Will we be able to finish Bad Batch before we get to Mando? Is my question.
I don't know. I guess it's gonna depend on how many episodes they put in Bad Batch. I'm assuming it's gonna be like 10.
Right.
Um, I don't think we will. I think they're gonna
Well,
overlap.
I think Bad Batch had more than 10, didn't it? I don't know. I could be wrong.
I'm just arbitrarily picking a number because
Hmm.
even if it starts middle of January, that's only roughly 6 weeks. Even if you do a two episode season premiere.
Season two coming December to Disney January 4th.
Oh, that early.
Yeah, I said early January.
For some
That's
reason, I thought
cool.
it was later.
It's cool if you didn't believe me. That's fine.
I just thought it was like coming like closer to mid to late January.
There are no problems, no issues with you not believing me. I'm trying to see how many there are actually huge issues with it.
It's
Trying to see how
fine.
many episodes there were. Let's see.
From season 1.
Yeah, 16.
So, if you do, maybe they're going to release 2 episodes a week. Or maybe
Um,
they don't care and they'll just let it
Sloan.
overlap.
I think they just let it overlap, frankly. I mean, it's got a lot of different people. Like the thing that always has always made me, I don't know if cringe, that's probably too strong of a word, but I've never understood why like some adults are just like, no, it's animated, it's for kids.
Right.
Like and they won't try it. And like my dad is just like, oh, it's animated, I'm out. Like he won't watch it. He just won't. And it's so weird. Like he's not like that toxic masculine guy where he's like, I don't know. I don't want to get into all of that. I just like he's not the guy who's like, oh man, I'm too macho for this. I'm too cool for the like. But animated shows, he's out. He's gone. Even if it's like an adult theme show like Family Guy or something like that. Like
Right.
he just won't. He refuses. And you know, no real shade on him. Just never understood why people have that. And but there's Bad Batch just will suffer from that in terms of viewership.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. I think it's just like a stereotypical like thing where Saturday morning cartoons and like that's what kids watched, right? And like all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So it's just kind of that correlation,
Hmm.
which is unfortunate because like you said, there's so many other cartoons that are aimed specifically at adults.
Yeah.
So no, Bad Batch is good though. It's definitely not just for kids.
Yeah, I have really liked Bad Batch a lot. Yeah, next year has a lot of really good Star Wars shows. Well, at least like a lot of good potential Star Wars shows because Bad Batch is fun and it's got a lot of good moments. My boys super like Bad Batch. They're really excited for it.
Hmm.
Um, and then after that, obviously Mando season three, which I mean, in a lot of ways, that's like the main storyline in Star Wars right now because
Yeah.
there's no movie going on, there's no movie series, and so like you know it's well produced. Like I don't think it's as good as like all the other Star Wars fans. Like everyone's like, oh my gosh, Mando, like this is the best thing ever. I think it's pretty dang good. I just there's like filler episodes sometimes and there's just weirdness, but whatever, it's good. um but then like the one I'm the most hyped about next year is Ahsoka.
Yeah, me too. And that supposed to be spring?
I really don't know.
I don't think they've said other than
Yeah, I mean
2023.
it's all variable, it's fine. I don't even know if they're done filming it, to be honest. But that's like Rebels season 5 in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's very true. That one's going to be really great.
I hope it is, yeah.
Hmm. It has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, so Mando March 1st, which is great timing. I'll probably watch the first 2 episodes and then be behind.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
We'll see. Maybe I won't be behind, but we'll see.
Oh, I get it. I mean, even if you're stationary, if you're just sitting there, you're still gonna be busy. Yep.
Yeah. Um, so that'll be fine though. I'm actually kind of relieved. This sounds bad, but I'm kind of relieved that it's Mando in March and not Ahsoka.
Mm,
Does that
yeah,
does that sort of make sense?
totally. Oh, I mean, yeah, if I had to choose one to miss,
Hmm.
not that I would ever want to miss Mando, but I would choose to miss Mando about instantly if I had to choose between it and Ahsoka because
Right.
to me, I realize that maybe Ahsoka won't be as good as Mando. Who knows? Who knows? But this is the story I've wanted forever, and it's written by Dave Filoni,
Hmm.
and like every time Dave Filoni's done something, I've basically approved on every level. So
Right. Yeah. So I feel like Ahsoka is just so well hyped for next year. That and like I will watch Mandalorian. I might be behind, but I'll still watch it.
yeah, and then let's see. Next year we'll also get the Acolyte. I think is what they were saying,
Yes. Yes, that's right.
and maybe Skeleton Crew.
Are we? Remind me which one Skeleton Crew is again.
It's the one with it's a bunch of kids and
Mm.
like Jude Law, I think, is the one adult, and they all crash land somewhere, and it's the story of what they do once they're crashed.
Weren't we? I can't remember the name of it. Weren't we supposed to get one? Um, it looked like it was like the tale of like a rebel fighter pilot, or a rebel pilot, and it was the director from Wonder Woman. I can't remember her name now. I'm totally blanking on it. Patty Jenkins.
Oh, she was supposed to direct Rogue
Rogue
Squadron, I
Squadron.
think.
We're not getting that next year.
Oh no, no, that one might never happen, actually. That one is very, very questionable of whether it's going to happen at all.
Well, that just makes me sad.
Me too, on some levels. I don't know if she was saying if she wanted to do like an original story and it was going to be Rogue Squad. And I mean, I just Rogue Squadron to me are the X-Wing books from Legend back in
Hmm.
the day, at like Star Wars Legends. And like that's where my second son got his name. Actually, it was from that series. And I'm like, if they don't have Corran Horn as a main character in it,
Hmm.
I don't know if I care about that movie. Like, I don't know if I want to see it. I mean, it's Star Wars, so we'll see it, but I might not want to.
I wonder if they would do that though, because in Kenobi they had that boy that was trying to get off the planet that was getting scanned, like the fake
Yeah.
Jedi was he was credited as Corran.
Hmm.
So anyway,
That doesn't mean that their movie about Rogue Squad, like I know that for a while, like they didn't have the story written, but I know that for a while they were kicking around the idea of Rogue Squadron being a resistance,
ah,
like like it would be like a movie set in the sequel trilogy time period.
right.
And I was like, that's so dumb. I hate that immediately, instantly.
Instantly hate it. Okay,
Like, yeah. Yep.
fair.
Yep, I'd be that guy. I'd be like making YouTube videos and I'd be like, everyone go to Rotten Tomatoes and do
Oh no.
a fake review, you know.
Mm-hmm.
0 stars. This movie looks dumb, but I didn't watch it.
No, don't be that guy.
So lately it's been funny. Like my feed has been giving me these articles about Lord of the Rings, or
Mm-hmm.
about, sorry, Rings of Power, and like tons of people are saying like, I realize like there's like this whole funny, weird, like cautious counter movement because everyone has this perception that no one sees as clearly as me. Clearly, I mean, I'm making fun of myself, but like I've been ranting about this stupid thing where people just go and you know. Just downvote something just because they're following a content creator or whatever. And so that's led a ton of people to just assume that the movie got or that the show got really bad ratings.
Right.
And and so I see all of these articles titled like, I realized that the reviews weren't good at all, but here's why I kind of actually liked it. Like,
Right.
here's my crazy take. I actually thought it was okay. Like people
Mm-hmm.
think they're being edgy, like, oh, look at me,
Going against the
I
grain.
yeah, like I'm so crazy for liking this thing that was very, very likable to almost everyone who actually gave it a chance.
Right. Oh man, that's so bad.
Yeah. I want to, it's like, even if I didn't like it, I'd want to say that I liked it just to like spite those idiots.
That sounds like something you would do.
Yeah. I just like, I, yeah, it wouldn't end well for anyone.
Oh man. Um Speaking of Rings of Power, the other piece of news that we can talk about is they recast for season 2. So they cast a whole bunch of new people. Like there's tons of new people coming into season 2, but Adar, so the dark elf that's leading the orcs, he is played in season 1 by Joseph Mall, and they recast him. So it's going to be Sam Hazeldine. I don't know if I said that right, but he's going to be in Rings of Power instead.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
I'm just more curious why. Like, was it a scheduling thing? Was it a like what's going on? Because if it was a scheduling thing, you would think there would be something said along those lines, and no one's really said anything.
Do you ever wonder if actors like see what their fate is in the show or
Mm-hmm.
how they're written and they hate it so much that they have to make something up
Mm.
to like excuse themselves? They're like, man, really? You're gonna have me die like that? Like that is an embarrassing, ignominious death. Like that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard, and I'm out.
It wouldn't shock me. But like that's the thing is people are like, is he going to? Because he put out a statement on Twitter about it, which was like your stereotypical like
It was
very
great to work here,
yeah.
but circumstances.
I'll be watching from the
Yeah.
sidelines. And he doesn't even mention circumstances. He's like just watching from the sidelines, rooting you for the cast and crew and like kind of thing. Like a very not burning any bridges type of post.
Yeah.
Um, but then it makes you wonder, you're like, is it? was it your choice? Was it their choice? Like what happened? Was it a
Right.
scheduling conflict?
Do they decide to treat your character like staring guys?
Well, so the things that I was reading a couple of things today about it, and obviously it's everyone speculating because no one's actually confirmed it, but the main threads I saw, there were two main threads. One was either he is reprising his role as Benjen Stark in the possible Snow spin-off series, which I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Who's Benjen Stark?
Uh,
He's he in the
he's
he's
in
in the show.
he's in the show. He is like he's the Starks, so like Jon Snow,
Hmm.
like all of them. He's like their uncle that went to the wall and he's been north of the wall forever and was banished. And
Okay. All right. Yeah, I remember that character. Okay. It's
and
been a while since I've read them.
yeah, and they haven't seen him in I don't even know how long. But he was in the show. He was in the show for like a handful of episodes.
Oh, and that was Adar.
And yeah, and it was the same actor.
Heh.
That was Adar.
Yeah, I
So
made a.
that was one of the things that I was reading, and then another thing I was reading was pretty much kind of what you were saying, was that he wasn't happy with how the show played out, how the role went, and decided to leave.
Uh,
So I don't know if we will ever know.
oh, we probably won't. I mean, unless it comes up again. So at some like these things, sometimes people just don't let things go.
Yeah.
Like they're like, I'm gonna be classy, and then they do the classy thing, and then they realize that what they had really wanted in life was to be dramatic,
So then they do the
and
dramatic thing.
then they find well, or they do they're like okay, they do the mature thing because they have like momentum for it, and that's good for their career, and everyone's telling them okay, if you're gonna leave you got to do it, and then at some point they get drunk and they go to a bar and they're just like, you know what, that show freaking sucked. Do you realize like the director did this, that they were gonna have me do like they were they were gonna have me. I don't know. It's just a funny,
Yeah.
like, yeah, these things happen.
It
I don't really care, but
it's funny. So I went to a comedy show a couple months ago, and one of the opening comedians, used to be a writer for How I Met Your Father, the How I Met Your Mother spinoff. And then
oh, I had no idea there was a spinoff.
yeah, there's a spinoff on, I think it's Hulu in the States. I think
Oh,
it's on Hulu.
Hulu can go suck it. They cost so much.
But anyway, so he used to be a writer there, and then something happened. I don't remember the
Mhm.
whole story, but he ended up getting fired and no longer works for them, and he's obviously touring, so it doesn't really matter. But he goes on this whole rant about the show and about the writing and the work experience there. It's exactly what you said. It's almost like he's drunk in a bar just ranting, and then he just spoils what the ending is for the whole series, like who the father is. And he's like, you want to know who the father is? And he just spoils it. And he's like, what are they going to do? Fire me? So
I mean,
it's a similar idea.
if he's got an NDA, then they're totally gonna sue him, potentially.
I mean, I would assume he doesn't have an NDA
Yeah,
if he's blabbing it.
or maybe that's not the real ending.
I will say, or yeah, that I was like, I haven't watched it, and I was so intrigued by this story and him spoiling who the father was that I almost wanted to start it just to see if they hinted at who the father was through the episodes, so that I could see if they were pointing in the direction that he said.
Neil Patrick Harris makes How I Met Your Mother awesome, and
Yes,
if he's not in How I Met Your Father, then I don't think I'm interested.
I don't think he is.
Oh,
So
well,
there's your answer.
I'm not interested then.
Um,
Surprise!
Surprise, surprise, surprise. Okay, so we've got Mando season 3, Adar's getting recast, and surprise, surprise, There is no Wheel of Time season 2 date.
Yeah, you've decided to continue that storyline. It's
Mm-hmm.
interesting how fixated you are on it.
I think I'm at the point. I was thinking about this today because I was like, I'm gonna double check, like maybe, and even though I'm sure I would have heard, but um, it honestly just makes me wonder at this point, like, what are you doing at, like, what is Amazon Prime doing? Like, why so, like, what is happening? Because filming finished forever ago, like 9 months ago. Filming wrapped up.
No, it's not 9 months ago. There's
We're
no
into
way.
December. It wrapped up in March or April.
Okay,
It's
I don't believe that, but okay.
it's been almost 9 months that it wrapped.
Okay, we'll say almost. That's a good catch-all. So it's been a while, you're right. And so post-production they might have issues, or there might maybe they're trying to do reshoots. I mean,
No, everything's done. There's no reshooting happening apparently.
well, then who knows?
That's why I'm kind of like, what's going on? Why don't you just give a date?
I think they want to be cautious about when it's released versus like because it's like a direct uh rival to Wheel of Time or
To
to
Rings
Wheel
of
of Time
Power.
to Rings of Power. Yeah.
For sure. And they're obviously juggling that. They're juggling Carnival Row
Hmm.
and some other show. I can't remember. There's another show that they've got that they're juggling. But it's like, it you know when Carnival Row is happening, you know when Wheel of Time or when Rings of Power was happening. Um,
Hmm.
you can juggle the schedule now. Like you can make the puzzle pieces fit. It's just I think that's what I'm intrigued by. Is I'm like, why can you not figure this out?
Oh, you seem angry, not intrigued.
Well, I'm just more like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah, I want to know too.
and I
Maybe it's magic. Maybe we'll get a third season. Like we'll get back-to-back seasons.
well, I'm like that's the other thing. They've already been renewed for season 3,
Yeah.
so it's even more of a like, what are you doing? Just tell us what's going on.
Yeah.
Watch season 2 just not live up to any hype whatsoever, and I'll just be sad because I've been looking for it this whole time.
Well, yeah, season one was so sketchy for me in terms of like my excitement levels that I'm just like I kind of don't want it to be really like I do. I'll watch it. I will, but I will cringe all the way up to it, and then hopefully I'll like it. But if it's like season one, there will be a lot that I'm like, I don't do that. Don't stop. Back off. Back.
Oh man. Okay. I think that's all the news.
Oh yeah, after you say so, let's move on. Oh, so
Mm.
people, we're actually thinking of next week
Oh yeah.
doing Willow as the show. And we realized that no one ever listens to this and then talks on Discord to us. But that's actually a hyperbole. That happens. Some people do. But uh, is Willow something anyone strongly objects to or would be interested in, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to any other nerd centric show? We'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts are. And that's it.
That's it. Yeah. And I've never watched Willow, like the movie, the original movie.
Oh, all right, so are you gonna watch the? Would you watch the show or the movie first and then the show? Do you have enough time?
Yeah.
I could maybe find time to watch the movie again as well. It's been a while.
I'm wondering, like, do I need to watch the movie first? Can I dive in blindly here? Will I be completely lost?
I mean, it's one movie from the '80s. I want to spoil certain things, but I won't.
Fair. All right.
It,
Well,
it'll be fine.
we'll see. Maybe I'll watch it. It's on Disney Plus, so I can.
Yeah.
Pull it up one day.
I think it's worthwhile to like it's not like it's a 9 movie series that you have to watch the whole thing just to understand what's happening in the show.
Right.
It's like for Star Wars, it would be a little bit tricky, a little daunting if it was like, okay, I kind of want to get into Star Wars, and so I can watch this Mandalorian show that everyone's been talking about. But do I have to watch like all 9 of the Skywalker Saga movies and Solo and Rogue One and all the different shows that
Mm-hmm.
lead up to it? Like Kenobi and like the animated shows. Or like, there's so much Star Wars, really. Like Willow's like watch one movie.
Right. And then watch the show.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right. That's fair.
It's super fair. So, you want to talk about the what's it called? The thing
Tales
with the
of the
stuff?
Tales of the Jedi.
Yeah, they don't even have
That one.
tails. Like most of them are not like animals, really.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have tails.
Um, where do you want? How do you want to do this? Because they don't really like they don't go in order, right? So
Why don't
how?
we just take one character's arc and then the other?
All right. Who do you want to start with?
I'll let you choose, actually.
Okay, let's start with Dooku first.
Your least favorite.
Correct.
Okay.
Just
I actually like the Ahsoka one better as well.
mm-hmm.
I liked Dooku a lot though, so lots to talk about.
Yeah, like I didn't mind his episodes. I just thought Ahsoka's were more fun. So that's fine.
Okay, so first off, you watched the Dooku ones, and you were like the first time you watched them,
Mm-hmm.
you were so underwhelmed. You were like, no, like I don't remember it, but you didn't remember anything about
I
them, but you were
remember
very dismissive
nothing.
anyways.
I
Right,
remember nothing from it.
right. Well, you were like, no, they weren't good, and then you didn't have any like reasons for it. So, you watched them again.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you loved them or anything. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. In fact, I want to know,
Wait.
did you like them better? This like where you was because your first impression was like,
Mm-hmm.
no, they sucked. Like we have recordings. We have it recorded where you were like, no, like you were saying like something was as bad as the Dooku episodes and stuff. Like you were like dissing on them hard.
I will say, so first of all, I watched them the first time, and I remember Yaddle from the Dooku episodes.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So
that
you
stuck.
just lied. Okay.
That
Yaddle.
stuck. But that was it. Um, no, I think they were good. It was interesting to me to see more of his like I guess it's not I don't even really know if you can call it his start, but like maybe more like the start of his
Well,
descent.
we gotta. Well, yeah, like they kind of like were treading some weird ground where, they have like the canon, like audio drama book that
Mm-hmm.
is really hard to follow, but like that kind of details a lot of his path to get to the dark side. And
Yeah.
so this was just like tales, a couple stories that, like kind of were like, hey, here's some snapshots of him progressing
Mm-hmm.
toward it. And yeah, like you didn't see any like you just saw more evidence of why he would turn to the dark side, I guess.
Right. I thought it was interesting too that they seemed to show it based off of. It's almost like he felt like he was doing justice for people, like he can like the people are complaining about the senator, right? Like in that episode where the senator's son is
Sure.
is kidnapped or missing or whatever,
Hmm.
and they're complaining about the senator, and then it's almost like he thinks he's doing a greater justice, like for the greater good type of thing, to and then he realizes that it's not that, and it's like I'm trying to figure. It's almost like like kind of acting a little bit in a savior manner. Like that's how I was sort of, that was the vibe I was kind of getting from it. Not necessarily that he was viewing himself that way, but it was interesting to me that it was in that sort of area, I guess. Am I making sense?
So it's like he had confused objectives or something. Like he wasn't quite sure how to. It was like he was developing an ideal, but he
Mm-hmm.
didn't really know how to follow it.
Yeah, and it was like you know that this is the Jedi way of doing things, and he was like, well, why would I do it that way if this actually gives the outcome to help people, but that would be like the wrong way about going about things.
Right. Well, he kind of loses control as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like it's like he starts tampering with the dark side and doesn't really know, he doesn't understand the full nature of it yet.
right. And doesn't realize that he is losing control, and that will just get more and more, or be the case more and more.
Yeah. Okay, so why don't we, instead of like why don't we go like in broad strokes, and then we can talk about briefly about each episode.
Okay.
So what did you like about the Dooku ones the most? What was your favorite thing about the Dooku episodes?
I think, you know what? I think I did like that it started by showing him like clearly working as a Jedi. Like you had Qui-Gon there, you had Mace there, like just overall like you could see that that was where he started. And I think that is, so I knew that because I've listened to the Dooku audiobook, and I think probably a good
Mhm.
majority of more Star Wars fans would know that he started as a Jedi and then went to Sith. Um,
I mean, they talk about it in the movies, so
right.
like it's pretty solidly established. Not that I
But
would assume that all casual fans know things about that, but most casual fans probably don't watch the show anyways. But go ahead.
right, but I kind of like that they showed that for people who maybe don't know that.
Well, yeah, I guess you're right about that. Like, what context do we always see him in if we watch him in any medium?
Yeah, he's
We see him as a separatist,
right. He's always the quote unquote bad guy.
the Sith separatist. Yeah,
Hmm.
hmm
Yeah, so I did really enjoy that. I don't
yeah, I love
know,
that.
like in terms of each like episodic story, like you said, it was like snippets, right? So they weren't necessarily, I mean, they were kind of tied together, but they weren't super tied closely together. Um, so I don't know if I would have like a favorite. Well, that's a lie. I think I did like his last episode the most. I think probably most people liked his last episode the most.
Yeah, I don't know which one I like the most, actually.
No?
They all had some really good stuff. In fact, like I thought they were all really solid. In fact, like I don't know, I just really liked them. But this is about what you liked.
I was just gonna say,
So
well, what did you like about them?
I mean, there's so much, honestly. So first off, yeah, the last episode was great because we got a little bit of closure about Yaddle, about what
Mm-hmm.
happened to her, because that's always just been, we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We never knew what happened to Yaddle. Like she's on the Jedi Council, she's sitting there, and then she's part of Yoda's race, and they have a couple random stories that they've told that are canon about her doing random Yoda-ish things, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. Like that, she just kind of disappears into canon, and so like I don't know that they knew honestly what happened to her until they were like, oh hey, let's close the door on
Right. Let's write this in and give it a little bit of closure.
right. I mean, I've always thought it was funny, like people saying like Yoda clapping them cheeks about him and Yaddle, and that's where Grogu came from.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever. The like and who knows, that's still maybe possible, maybe probably not, but I like that. There's so many cool like little details though. Like her accent was totally different than Yoda's, which
Mm-hmm.
implies like they probably grew up somewhere different. Like they probably didn't grow up on the same planet. In
Yeah.
fact, like they might be the same race, but the race that they live in, like that they came from, might not. Like who knows? Maybe they just like get babies and just drop them off somewhere
Well, that's
or
actually a really good
something.
point because I did notice that when she started speaking, I was like, oh, she doesn't speak in the same manner that Yoda speaks in.
Yeah. So I really like that. I think other things that I really liked. So, we could talk about this maybe a little bit more when we get to it. Like I loved seeing him with uh with his Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
Like watching him with Qui-Gon in the first episode and in the third one,
Mm-hmm.
and how their interactions changed. I loved seeing him with a blue lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked seeing him with Mace and getting the glimpse of what Mace was doing and why he was I don't know, like Mace actually defends him in episode two.
Mm-hmm.
He's like he's a political idealist. It's not he's still like he used to be a Jedi. It's not in his nature to try to assassinate you. Like what? He wouldn't do that,
Right.
you know? Um, I just love the all the different points that they like all these different little key points that they kind of supported. When he goes in and deletes Camino from the archives, and then
Mm-hmm.
immediately talks to the old grumpy lady. I forget what her name is, the librarian lady.
Oh yeah, I can't remember.
Well, and she's talking to him pleasantly, and then a little, years later, Obi-Wan comes up and he's like, "Well, what about this thing?" And like she had just talked to the guy who deleted him, a while ago. So I don't know. It's just all the interconnectivity stuff is to me real neat. Like maybe it's a little bit of fan service, but I just thought it was fun to see a couple little snapshots of his journey toward the dark side,
Mm-hmm.
and the role he played as kind of he was always kind of a rogue Jedi,
Mm-hmm.
and I liked to see that as well.
Yeah. I think you need like a. I think it's safe to have a little bit of fan service and stuff like this.
People say fan service is bad. I'm like, it can't be the point
Right.
to
Like you
me.
can be completely over the top with it, or you can have like little things sprinkled in that
Right.
add little like it's like little breadcrumbs.
Yeah. Well, like the point of the second episode, for instance, of Dooku was like you wanted to they wanted to show us another sign of how he is growing more and more disillusioned with the way the whole system works.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the point wasn't to have him hang out with Mace Windu. Adding Mace Windu was like a cool little addition to it. But if they had made that the main focus, the story wouldn't have been as strong.
Right, because you'd be distracted from what's going on with Dooku's storyline and focus on like why is Mace here and like what's going on and
Right.
yeah, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Okay. So what if anything did you dislike most about the Dooku?
Um, I think I would have just had it be more like of a seamless. I mean, it was still pretty connected between the three episodes, but I think it would have been. I would have liked more of like a continuation type of story, like picking up kind of where one episode leaves off and carrying on from there. Um,
Sure. Yeah, it's like he had his Padawan, and then the next time he didn't have like they were just like
yeah,
some Jedi doing their job, and who knows how many years have passed. And then
right,
the next one, he's dark side, and who knows how many years have passed.
right. So you're kind of like, okay, well, what's happened in between that? Like, because these can't be the only snippets of things that have happened to you to make you go towards the dark side. So what else has been happening?
Right.
Yeah. So,
Right. Yeah, you're right. They weren't very well connected. I will agree with that.
and like, it's not a bad thing. It's just like a preference that I would have had. I still think overall they were connected by the thread of it being about Dooku and going towards the dark side. And you can see that thread weaving through all three of them. They're just spaced out more than I would like.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, and honestly, like there was a lot of times that it was questionable, like what. Okay, so for instance, they in the show they don't really like they kind of maybe imply just a little bit that he was on the Jedi Council,
Right.
but he was on the Jedi Council actually, and like he was a master eventually after Mace, obviously, but he they kind of imply that maybe because he's that Yaddle's like, well, everyone's going to Naboo to mourn Qui-Gon, and he's
Hmm.
like, I doubt I'd be good company. It kind of implying that he has an invitation because he's a master.
Right. Okay. I see what you mean.
But they don't
Mhm.
actually explicitly say that, and it would have been like I don't think it would have hurt anything. I like subtlety. I enjoy subtlety when it's something that you can actually infer. But if you haven't read the or listened to the audio drama, which is
Mhm.
frankly like unless you have a bunch of spare time and you're just like a huge Star Wars fan, like I wouldn't really necessarily like recommend that
Right.
like a ton. Anyways, I certainly wouldn't expect even like most pretty strong fans to do like you just don't expect people to have that source material and then if you don't, then you just totally miss the context of he was a master, but like no other material says that he was a master other than that drama thing.
Right. That that book,
The
audiobook.
book, the audiobook, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not being that clear apparently, sorry. But yeah, like
No, it's good.
nothing. I'm being as unclear as they were.
Fair.
So yeah, I would have liked to have some sort of indicator that he was on the council. Like just a little couple little things like that.
Okay. That's fair. Um.
I kept because of the game you and I play, I kept
Mhm.
expecting him with his lightsaber to like dance up and down and hit
Mhm.
someone and then back and then go back and hit him again and then they would be stunned.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and like that's the other thing too. The first episode of his arc, it took me a second to realize that was Dooku, and I was like, oh, like that's him. Okay, we're good. We can follow along. Um,
Hmm.
but because they do a really good job of making like Qui Gon look like Qui Gon, and Mace looked like the actors that played them in the live action movies, and I didn't think Dooku looked like himself.
Well, I think the hair color is a really big deal for him,
Yeah.
especially because he's, and it's a different hairstyle as well.
Hmm. Yeah.
When he's a separatist, when he's the older version that we all know better, he's got like a more militaristic kind of close cut thing. But
Hmm.
yeah, like he had a more I don't know if it's stylish, but yeah, he had more hair certainly.
Right. Yeah, it just kind of like threw me at first, and then I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. Now that I know who you are, we're good. But
Yeah, I thought it was okay. So all right, let's go over uh the specific shows if you want.
the episodes.
Okay, so the first one,
Hmm.
Justice. Two Jedi are dispatched to resolve a hostage situation on a distant planet.
Hmm.
So this one had young Qui-Gon in it, which I just thought was so neat.
Yeah, I did like getting to see that. I actually liked this one. I think this one and the last one were probably the strongest ones for me. Um, and I think it had to do with the fact that like you really got to see Dooku more in that Jedi role, right? And he's there with Qui Gon, and they're doing all
Hmm.
their Jedi stuff, and um, it was interesting just like to see him too, like as the like mentor, right? Because he's Qui Gon's his apprentice or his
Right.
Padawan. Sorry, I shouldn't say apprentice.
Prentice is fine, I think.
Whenever I like think of it, I always think apprentice for Dark Side.
Sure. I mean, that's I guess what they use. Yeah. I mean, sure. So, how dare you?
um, yeah. So what? So did you like this one specifically because Qui Gon was in it with him?
Yeah, so I think the thing I liked most about it, like we get to see that Dooku really is idealistic. You can tell that he cares about the situation, about the people
Mm-hmm.
in it, and he doesn't know how to deal with that. Like he's like, yeah, he's effective, and they talk to the people, and he clearly wants the people to be okay. And
Mm-hmm.
then the senator's son. I thought it was an interesting curveball that the senator and that the senator's son actually turned out to be like almost decent people, kind of. The
Right.
son especially. Um, but I liked how yielding they were as well.
Yeah.
They're like, you know what, we're gonna protect them.
Right. Yeah, it was just a good I think it was a good start for it was the proper way to start his episodes.
Yeah, so I think that the thing I actually, so you said you like the first and the third the best, and I think
Mhm.
I am similar there as well. I think the thing that's the most interesting to me was watching him interact with Qui-Gon,
Mhm.
and in this one, and Qui-Gon at this point, like you could tell he's pretty well versed, like he's like kind of close-ish to becoming a full Jedi, but he's he sees his master like force choking the guy, and
Yeah.
he's like, oh man, okay, here's how I can stop him. Like he already has a plan in place because he knows what his master might do.
Mhm.
And then you can see in the third episode the like, okay, so in episode 2, which happens after all of these, in episode 2 you see the discussion between Dooku and Obi-Wan.
Okay.
Obi-Wan's a prisoner, and Obi-Wan, he's he's like, or Dooku says, I wish Qui-Gon was here now. I could use his help. And Obi-Wan's like, Qui-Gon Jinn would never join you. And he's like, oh, I think he would. But
Right.
but then but it's like he's like self-deluded, because you can see the wariness in Qui-Gon in the first episode of this, of Tales of the
Mhm.
Jedi. And then in the third one, you can see like he seems pretty wary when he
Mhm.
talks to Dooku. Like he's not warm. He's not like,
Right.
Dooku clearly cares about him, but he's clearly like, I kind of want to like not talk to you anymore.
Yeah, he wants to distance himself. That's a really good point. And I like that you brought it back to like how it connects to Dooku even further on, like once you get to those prequels into episode 2 and stuff, like you were saying, like that's really good because then it really changes. It almost changes the tone of that episode or of that scene from that movie. Sorry.
Right. Oh, yeah. I really like that, and one of my favorite things, and it's funny, like my boys are super obsessed with it too. Probably just because I've talked about it a few times, but like the Padawan tree, sort of, that happens throughout Star Wars, of like Yoda has a lot of explaining to do, because Yoda trained Dooku.
Mm-hmm.
Dooku trained Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon trained Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan trained Anakin.
Ooh, it's like a pattern there.
Well, it's this whole tree. Like
Yeah.
Yoda eventually is kind of in a way responsible for Anakin, and like in that whole chain,
Mm-hmm.
two of those guys became the next two Sith Lords.
Right. Yikes.
Like,
What went
all
wrong?
right, Yoda. Yeah, like you had 900 years, Yoda. What's going on, bud? Like,
Oh. Um. That's kind of funny when you think about it that way. To be honest.
yeah. I mean, I just that whole tree of like that, people do that with like NBA coaches.
Right.
and stuff too of you have a really legendary coach, and then he has a bunch of assistants, and because that coach is so good, then then all the other teams think that there's his assistant coaches have been taught so well
Mm-hmm.
that they hire the assistant coaches to be mini versions of the coach, and then sometimes they're successful, and then they get their own little branch, and they get but people are like, oh yeah, like all the branches on that coach's tree are just totally dead. Like none of his assistant coaches were actually worth a damn.
Right.
He was good, but I don't know, it's funny how people like that interconnectivity of who teaches who, and
Mm-hmm.
how I hope that my teachers aren't blamed too much for my lack of knowledge.
And their own tree. Um,
Yeah.
okay. Is there anything in episode other? I shouldn't say episode one, in the first Dooku episode that you wanted to point out?
Not necessarily. I will say that I like these glimpses
Mm-hmm.
of things that happen before episode one. Like it predates the it predates everything
Mm-hmm.
that we've seen canon wise, and it's just kind of fun to see that.
Yeah, it is, because we don't get to see this. I don't think pretty much. I'm trying to
Ever.
think if there is anything else. There isn't anything else, right, that predates it.
Not really. Like Acolyte will do that. I
Mm-hmm.
think that'll be a couple hundred years prior. But yeah, for the most part,
No.
no,
Uh,
we don't have anything.
okay, so what is the second Dooku episode then? What was that one called?
Okay, so the next one was called Choices, and it's
Mm-hmm.
Jedi Knights investigate the mysterious death of one of their own, and that's the one with with Dooku and Mace,
Mm-hmm.
and Mace is like, we got to do everything by the book.
Right. And they're arriving and looking at everything.
All right, so did you feel like this was an authentic or like realistic take on young Mace?
Um, I don't know. Actually, I don't think it was. He felt much more like contained within a box almost. And like to me has always felt more erratic for a Jedi. Erratic's probably the wrong word, but
No, I'm right there with you though. Like he was very, he's like, we have to follow the rules, the rules, the rules,
yeah.
you know.
And Mace to me has always seemed like a Jedi that, like, yeah, follows the Jedi rules, but kind of does it to the beat of his own drum and, like, knows how to toe the line, sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, so in the old lore, the purple lightsaber,
Mm-hmm.
and that this happened after they showed his purple lightsaber, but like the idea was it's like a Jedi who can actually use some parts of the dark side,
Mm-hmm.
and but they've like mastered it to the point where it's kind of isolated from the rest of themselves, and so it doesn't like endanger them from actually turning to the dark side.
Right. They're able to, like, compartmentalize.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, I can use force lightning and it's not just be evil.
Right.
Sort of maybe like he wouldn't have that necessarily, but like he was like a rogue almost, and it seemed like he did march to the beat of his own drum. Like he liked being the one calling the shots.
Mm-hmm.
I guess in some ways maybe his adherence to the rules made him want to eventually be the one who made the rules.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe that's what made him want to break away from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah, I just think it's interesting to see that take on him. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't necessarily buy it. He's like, we have to follow the rules.
And you're like, no, we don't. You're Mace.
Yeah, like go mess some MFers up, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Go kill some snakes.
Um, yeah, but I will say I think it was like you mentioned earlier. I think it was good that he didn't feel Mason this episode didn't feel too dominating. Maybe that's why as well. He didn't feel as dominating because his personality kind of wasn't jiving with what we're thinking.
Yeah, I was like, well, he seems competent, but
Hmm.
I don't know, he seemed pretty boring too. He's just it's like we're just gonna get the body.
But like, do you think if it had been the Mace that you maybe were expecting, or how you think he should have been, would that have taken away from Dooku's part of the storyline here and made you focus more on Mace?
Well, yeah, I mean, I also would prefer to have like he could have had those interactions with any random Jedi,
Yeah, that's true. It didn't have
you
to be
know.
Mace, is what you mean.
Yeah, like if they're gonna add Mace, I'd rather have a little bit of Mace flair, and we didn't really see that much. It's like purple
Right.
lightsaber
Right. So
and rules.
it's almost like it's fan servicey, but it didn't quite hit the mark.
Yeah, it felt like that was one of the weaker things. I did like at the end where Dooku's like, "Did you know that you were going to be on the council?"
Mm-hmm.
To Mace, and I don't know. It was just an interesting thing. Clearly, Dooku coveted that position.
Yeah. I wanted to be there.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I liked the holier than thou Mace too. Like at the end, he's like, "I will talk to them on your behalf."
it's interesting too because you can see um what Dooku values here, like how he coveted that position, right, at the Jedi Council and stuff like that, and how that is affecting. It's almost like it has a hold on him and is affecting him slipping more towards the dark side.
Right. Well, I mean, he wants that influence and power, I think,
Yeah.
you know.
So it's making him like if I can't have it here, I'll go get it over there.
Yeah, it's a good little insight. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
All
So
right. So the final Dooku one is the Sith Lord,
right.
and it's called A Jedi Master Makes a Troubling Discovery.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, Dooku has actually changed his hairstyle
Mm-hmm.
to what we expect, and even his beard, but he's still got you know black hair,
Right.
and he is dark side at this stage.
Right. So it's fun because you kind of see like the start of it in the first episode and you see this weird middle ground and kind of like what's pulling him around some more, and the second one, and then this one it's like this is it. He's still clearly acting like not like still clearly trying to act like a Jedi, but he's gone now.
Yeah, like he's just jaded and bitter about the Jedi Order. He's done with them. He just wants to do his own thing, but
Mm-hmm.
he still needs to be like within the confines of the Jedi Order so that he can do things like delete records you know,
Mm-hmm.
and exploit his friendship with Sifo Dyas
Mm-hmm.
and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we get Qui-Gon back in this one, and then Yaddle's in this one. This one had like, I feel like this felt like the most action-packed one.
Yeah, I mean they all had him lightsabering, but this one was interesting because we've already seen him fight someone of Yoda's race. Actually, in episode 2, we saw him fight Yoda,
Right.
and Yoda was too much for him. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Dooku's like one of the best duelists ever.
Mm-hmm.
He's amazing. He's mastered his style, whatever it is, and it was kind of sad to see Yaddle like she. I was a little sad actually. I mean sad, but also annoyed that she just like poked her head out. She's like, "Hey, what's up, Dooku? Like, I see your dark side." Like,
Yeah.
she should have just ran away and got whistled up reinforcements.
Right. Instead of trying to handle it herself, you mean?
Yeah, she could have, like used the Force to blow the hood off of Palpatine, off
Mm-hmm.
of Sidious's face, so that you know who he is, and then get the hell out of there.
Right.
Or don't even do the Force push thing on his clothes. Like, just get out of there. Like, okay, Dooku's a dark sider. Like, they're gonna trust her. They're gonna believe her.
Mm-hmm. And then just go afterwards with reinforcements and see how that goes.
I mean, what do you get it? Like, there's a Sith Lord, and like there's two people, and she's just like, yeah, I could take both of them. Like she doesn't seem to have that level of hubris. It seemed like she was just kind of dumb there.
That's sad. But I mean, it's a fair point. Um, it was really cool though to see her like go by herself, and she's opening that like doorway, whatever it is.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, it was cool to see that just from her, but yeah, I can see what you mean. It makes more sense to go and get reinforcements and then tackle it afterwards.
Yeah, and tell people where you're going, you know?
Right. Bring a buddy.
Well, because later Dooku meets up with Sidious in the same place. If she had just, even if she had just been, she'd done everything else, but she had also just said, "Hey, I'm following Dooku. Here's my like transponder on this." Like it'll just send a ping every once in a while to hear where I am. Like that's all you need. And then the Jedi are like, I guess we'll just scope it out for a while because that was the last time we saw her. And then at some point, a mysterious Sith Lord appears with Dooku, and they're like, oh, well, that's sad. Let's go kill him.
It is sad.
It is. Yep. So, and we saw his irrevocable action to kill Yaddle,
Yeah.
and that was that.
Yeah. I do agree with you. It's almost like they wanted to give us closure on the Yaddle storyline here.
Yeah, well, it was just weird. Like, what is she going to show up in the Mandalorian as Grogu's mom? What's yeah, like what happened to her? Yeah, I thought it was fun. I mean, it's like 15 minutes each episode, but it gave a
Yeah.
nice little snapshot of Dooku and his descent to madness.
I actually liked that it was like 15-ish minutes an episode. I thought that was the right length.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it made him be efficient with the story
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, just a little bit of insight to a character that we always just kind of think of as, especially if you've only watched the movies. He's like, what does he do? He beats Anakin and Obi-Wan because Anakin's being a stupid like, you know, following his rage and emotions, and so he beats the two of them. And then he loses to Yoda but escapes. And then he has his head chopped off in the next like scene that he's in, basically, if you only watch the movies.
Right. So this was pretty solid background for a character that doesn't spend a ton of time on screen.
Yeah, I fleshed him out a little bit. I liked it.
Okay, so do you want to talk about Ahsoka?
Yeah, okay. So uh yeah, do you want to just jump into the episodes, or do you want to talk about, what we liked most about it? Like the broad scope. I guess we should do that first.
Yeah. Oh man.
What
This
was your favorite
just
thing?
oof. um I th- I think I just really liked episode 1 the most. That was probably my favorite.
Hmm.
Which I don't know. I can't pinpoint it. Um, I think it was just really cool to see her as basically a baby and already having this power and using it, unwittingly using it, but using it nonetheless. Um, I think it just highlights how strong she is.
Yeah, I mean, I liked how they made her mom look really similar to her.
Yeah, yeah,
My 4-year-old was like, "Oh, look, it's Ahsoka," and I'm like, "That's I think that's her. I think that's Ahsoka's mom," and he was all excited. It was funny.
yeah. They did make her look really similar. Um, yeah, I don't know why though. I think I just really enjoyed. I thought I just really enjoyed this one. I liked her arc overall, just like had no real complaints about it. Um, yeah.
Yeah, so I I don't know. This was actually so what we ended up we had just watched my boys and I had just watched the arc where Ahsoka leaves the Jedi Order in the Clone Wars.
Okay. Yeah.
And I really liked how these episodes, episode one, not so much, but the other two really tied into that decision quite a bit. I
Yeah.
liked that. So yeah, there was a lot to like about these. Honestly, I've always liked Ahsoka character. The one thing I've always thought was hilarious about Ahsoka was if you only watch the movies, you have no idea she exists.
Right. That is very true. Because I remember when I first saw her, I was like, "Who is this?" And then you quickly realize that she's a pretty big character for
Yeah,
somebody who's not in any of the movies.
not even mentioned. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
yeah, it, it's just yeah, it's funny. Like what happened? What how? But she's like one of the most important characters in Star Wars in a lot of ways.
Right.
Like not more important than Luke or Anakin, but she's still very important.
Yeah. She absolutely. I think it was. I want to say it was like 6 years ago, probably when I first saw her in the show.
Okay.
Like it
Yeah,
wasn't super long ago.
I remember I didn't like it at all when I watched the Clone Wars movie,
Mm-hmm.
which is I think where she debuted, where they just pass her off to Anakin as his apprentice, and she's pretty mouthy and stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I mean, she has some funny lines and stuff, and I've watched it again recently, and it's kind of fun to watch it at, like in a nostalgia way, but yeah, I hated the idea. I was like, Anakin never had an apprentice. Are you kidding me? Or Padawan?
Yeah. Yes, he did apparently. Um. Yeah. No. I like, and I agree with you. They did really tie in the last two episodes more so with the Clone Wars storyline. Um. And
Yeah,
it really highlighted a lot. It not even highlighted. It made a lot of the decisions and what happens in those and that series make more sense.
yeah. Well, and I like that in the first one, even it shows that she values life as
Right.
well. Like it kind of gives you the background of her upbringing, everyone cared about, you know, they want that balance. They don't want,
Right.
I I just thought it was cool that first episode. And of course, having kids myself, she was pretty cute and everything.
Right. Yeah, it was well done. Um
Yeah.
okay, so was there anything that you didn't like about it or do you want to just hop into the episodes?
Why don't we hop into the episodes? I
Mhm.
don't There's nothing obvious that I disliked, to
Right.
be honest. Okay, so first episode, and then so we do the first episode, and then we have to skip all the way to episode five out
Mhm.
of six. But this is episode one: Life and Death. A child goes through a rite of passage with unexpected results.
Mhm.
uh, Unexpected by who?
By all parties involved.
Right? Yeah, none of us expected that.
Mhm.
I was like, I told my son when we were watching it, I'm like, this is where Ahsoka dies.
You did not say that.
I always tell my kids that actually.
Oh my goodness.
Like this is where this character dies. Well, especially when they get concerned and then they're like, no, it isn't. Like she's alive in later episodes. I'm like, so stop being so concerned. Knock it
Oh.
off.
No.
Knock it off.
Oh man. Yeah, so this one I mean the whole thing is her as a baby. Like she's barely probably a year old by the end of this episode.
Yeah. I thought it was cute that at the end she rode
Yeah.
the cat thing in, even though it's not that practical that she could have ever gotten on top of his back. Really.
No, not at all. There was
No.
no way for it to happen.
Yeah. I like the antelope goats.
Did you?
Yeah, they're weird. But I just think it's funny. Like they so here's something very minor that I noticed that in in this movie they went out of their way to make sure that they were animals that we could kind of relate to and understand. It's like, oh, there's like a tiger or a lion, like a
Right.
hunting cat. And there she's shooting like deer or antelope or something. And there are like squirrel kind of creatures in the trees. But then none of them are earth creatures. And then you go to the next episode actually in line, which was the first Dooku episode, and immediately a straight up Earth dog comes out and barks at them. Like they didn't try to mask it as anything else, but in and they could have masked it as anything else because it's animated. It's not even like that tough to do, I would assume.
Right. You just can make
But
up an
yeah,
animal kind of thing. Um,
but yeah, that's like, oh hey, look at that. There's a dog. Um,
I did
but
notice
then
that though in episode one
yeah.
that they tried to make them more similar to exactly that. Like here are some deer in the forest, and this is a tiger, and
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever. I don't really think I care one way or another, but it was just funny. The first one was very obviously they're trying to have things that are familiar but all and relatable, but also different. And then the next one just totally undermined that. And it's like, dog,
Everything's
hello,
fine.
dog. Yeah,
Everything's
it's
fine.
all good. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine with that. I mean, there are ducks in Star Wars. Did you know that?
Are there?
Oh, and here's why. In episode one, they're they are running from the separatists. They're from the Trade Federation. They're trying to escape Naboo in their ship, and the pilot says, "We'll be sitting ducks if they shoot or if they destroy our engines or
Oh,
something." And it's like, how do you know what ducks are?
yeah. How do you know how they sit?
Yeah,
I was gonna say I don't remember ever seeing ducks, just regular ducks in Star Wars, but that makes more sense.
I mean, who cares? At the end of the day, it's not something that's important. But yeah, um, it is funny though when you see things that are obviously from our world and not the Star Wars realm. I'm fine. I'm good with it one way or another. So, all right, the first one I thought it was cool. The one thing that I did like about it too, I've always enjoyed the idea of it's like this rural, like they live on the edge of a forest. They have like dirt paths, like very,
It's their little village.
and yet they have droids helping them build things. And like there's like this mix of technology and ideals, and I kind of thought it was fun. I don't know.
It makes it feel
Was
more Star Warsy.
Yeah, it wasn't off-putting. Like I thought like you would almost think like, well, if they have all these droids, would they have all, other things too?
Right.
But I was good with it.
Yeah, no. It does feel more like Star Wars when you have that there though, when you have the droids and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so she is a baby in this one. She gets kidnapped by this tiger thing, like you said, and then
Hmm.
basically uses the force so the tiger doesn't eat her.
Yeah. So one thing I will say that was unrealistic about it, and just as a parent
Mm-hmm.
with young kids, is she was remarkably happy
Mm-hmm.
for how little she'd eaten that day.
I think you could say that that is true for a lot of people, myself included.
Yeah, I mean, as an adult though, you could probably go through a whole day and just run on adrenaline, and you might not be like happy, but you could maintain your equilibrium. And
Maybe.
Ahsoka was not you, other.
Other adultier adults.
Yeah, yeah, non-Canadian adults maybe. You didn't think I'd go that direction.
No.
Uh, you're like, I wouldn't have advised it either. But here's, yeah, so whatever. I also didn't care because I don't need, if the whole show, if every episode is going to be about baby Ahsoka, I might get annoyed.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, it made sense to start it right when she's a baby, and then, at least
Mhm.
I think so. You really, like, again, you really get to highlight just how strong she is, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I've always thought Ahsoka was not not that she was weak in the Force. I think
Hmm.
she was, fine. I'd be interested to know what her midi-chlorian count was.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I've always thought that her strength comes from like if she didn't even have the Force, she would still be strong.
Right.
Like she comes from herself, from inside of her, not and it's not the midi-chlorians in her, it's her will, it's that determination.
Hmm. That's fair. It just was.
Yeah.
It's like when you see a kid who's naturally talented at something, and you're like, "How did you learn to do this?" And they can just, like, when you see these kids that can play the piano really well or whatever it is that they're doing, and you're like, "How?"
Right. Like when I played GAC.
Yeah, you're like, "How?"
How? How does he do that?
uh, so it was just good. It was
uh,
good to see. But yeah, I'm glad it was only the one episode. I totally agree with you. And then we jump forward like several years.
yeah, and she is Anakin's Padawan,
Hmm.
and they're not getting along that well yet. But Anakin's decided to take ownership. So episode 5 is called Practice Makes Perfect. A Jedi Padawan is giving a seemingly impossible exercise.
Hmm. Did you get this? And I don't know. I got the sense that that Ahsoka was just angry in this scene where she's like fighting the battle training droids.
Oh, I thought that she seemed really confident to me.
Oh, okay. I think yeah, like she was confident.
Like
She just seemed also like maybe angry is the wrong word. Like annoyed at them.
I mean, she seemed like she wanted to show off to the masters, and then Anakin is just dismissive, and she's annoyed at him, kind
Mm-hmm.
of.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Well, of course you could be those stupid things. Like, let's give you a real test."
Right. Which I thought this was great because this ties into the Clone Wars.
Well, I thought it was wonderful actually
Mm-hmm.
because there's a direct parallel to that and what happens after Order 66,
Right.
and it's like, oh, like she's been training for this accidentally the whole time, like
Yeah.
this the whole Clone Wars.
Without even knowing it, and it, it's cool because they make it tie like the writing of this makes it tie directly to that.
Yeah, so I was thinking about it actually. You could make a meme, like the memes of like, here's like the level 1, here's the level 2, here's the level 3 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you have the Jedi who didn't survive very long in the Clone Wars because they can't fight droids.
Right.
And then like a good Jedi would be one who could fight droids really well. But the master Jedi, the ones that are the very best are the ones who trained to fight clones,
Right. Which is
you
just
know because that even though they didn't know about it, that they needed to fight clones, like that really helped her a ton.
yeah, like it. It was just really well. I thought it was really well done. I like that they included that a lot.
Yeah. Well, and I've always liked Anakin's methodology. They
Mm-hmm.
always make it really endearing of he's like, no, we're not going to do the same thing other Jedis do. Like that's stupid. Why would we do something that other Jedi and ultimately he's right and he's so confident in himself that he can find a better way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he can. And I've just always really enjoyed Anakin. Like the way they portray Anakin in the Clone Wars is so much better than the way I hate to say it than the way Hayden Christensen portrays Anakin in episode 2 and 3.
Yeah, I agree. I, I did not enjoy his portrayal in episodes 2 and 3. But then when you watch the Clone Wars, you're like, oh, this is. It almost feels like a different character.
Right. It's like this is the Anakin you wanted to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
The hero that the old Ben talks about when he talks to Luke.
Mm-hmm.
He's a hero in the Clone Wars.
It also makes it like knowing that that's the case about him, it makes his downfall more heartbreaking too.
Oh, it does. Well, because he's so loyal to his friends and
Yeah.
so like he feels so deeply, and it's like Sidious found a hack to get to him.
Yeah. So it just makes it a lot tougher. But anyway.
Yeah, at some point, yeah, he like downloaded the virus finally, and Anakin's like, "Oh, I guess I'm a Sith now." Crap. You know?
Right. Oh man. Um yeah, so this one was good. Like you said, I like that she's been trained to fight the clone troopers instead, which I mean directly helps her later on.
Yeah. Well, and then I like the tie-in at the end of it where it's like the very last scene is her going in with Rex to the final episode of the Clone Wars where
Yeah.
they're facing down all the clones and stuff, and it's like, oh, that's such an emotional episode, but it's fun to see just like the tie-ins as they go along.
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
and I thought that this showed that I think Anakin has a lot to do with her inner strength and how she,
Mm-hmm.
he developed her to be, what she was like. In a way, she's like the good version of Anakin, what Anakin should have been. In a
Right.
way, like she didn't turn to the dark side.
Right. She just kind of kept going. Oh
Yeah,
man, so sad. Okay, so then the last episode. What's the last one called?
it's called Resolve, and it's a former Jedi
Mm-hmm.
is faced with the truth that they cannot be something they are not. So this one started with her at Padme's funeral.
Yeah, I was surprised at that. That's where they started, or that they even showed that. Basically, I was like, oh, we are right here, and she's hidden in the crowd too.
Yeah. Yeah, and she almost gets caught, and Bail Organa bails her out. He figures out. Oh, I mean, he gives her. I guess it doesn't really bail her out. Later he does, but he yeah, he's like, here, like, come talk to me when you're ready, and she's like, yeah, probably not. But goodbye. Thanks, bud.
Yeah, so it's Padme's funeral. Um,
Hmm.
it was just like a really somber start to this episode. Obviously, because like you've got the funeral and like Ahsoka's hiding, like disappearing really quickly in the crowd, obviously trying not to be seen or caught or whatever.
Right.
But you can also tell that she is pretty upset about how everything happened.
Well, yeah, like she and Rex just escaped. Like if you watched the episode with the Clone Wars and everything, they've escaped and everything, but everyone's tried to kill her, and Order 66 is still very, very fresh
Mm-hmm.
in her mind. It's only been a couple days since that happened, and she has no idea that Anakin's still alive. She just assumes that he was part of the group of Jedi who just got killed by clones.
Mm-hmm. So the whole thing is just upsetting.
Right.
Um,
And then Padme, who's like one of her best friends, is dead now. And
yeah.
yeah, the Jedi Order, she still loves the Jedi a lot. She just can't be one yet
Mm-hmm.
again, and now she'll never be a Jedi.
Right. So she leaves and is hiding on like a farm, basically, farming planet.
Yeah, and I don't know. I thought it was interesting like the an inquisitor showed up.
Yeah, I liked him though. He was kind of cool.
He was, yeah, I don't know who he was
I
actually.
I don't know who he was, but he gave me kind of like a little bit of Grievous vibes, but then also Remember when we watched Moon Knight and that guy
Uh-huh.
that like
Oh
skull,
yeah, he did. Yeah, he
right?
looked like the weird. Yeah, he looked just like that guy. You're right.
That's like I don't know why I liked it a lot more in this than I did in Moon Knight. Let me tell you.
Well, yeah, like they just wouldn't stop putting out episodes to that show. Even though there's only like six, it was still just six too many.
Six
It
too
was
many.
like five and a half too many. Yeah, I should have stopped watching early. But and yeah, a ton of people thought it was so brilliant. It's tough for me to understand, but I'm limited, of course, cognitively and otherwise. So,
Um, yeah, so she's basically just been hiding here, but the Inquisitor
mhm.
shows up because some guy basically is like, yeah, there's a Jedi here hiding.
Right. Well, because she used her powers to save someone.
Yeah. So, and it wasn't.
So clearly, we should report the girl who covertly saves your sister.
Right? I was like, why would you do that? Like just keep it under the rug. No one needs to know. Everything is fine.
Right. So his whole village gets torched,
Right?
and it's like, sorry doesn't really cut it at that point. I don't know. Like,
That's kind
I'm
of the thought
so
I had. I'm like, you are responsible for all of this.
right. I'm so sorry. Like, great, but that's not enough.
Right. I'm like that's not how this works. Like
Yeah, I don't know. But so he's an idiot. And I like so she, it's true that she doesn't have her lightsabers and stuff. And so I like that she just finally says, you know what? We're just gonna end this. We're gonna solve this problem the violent way.
the violent way. Yeah. She and it was quick. Like
Yeah.
it's just over. As soon as she makes it that decision, it's like, nope, you're done.
Yeah, the guy comes up, he thinks he's gonna intimidate her. He's like, ooh, it's the person that they really want really bad. She probably isn't that skilled, so I'm just gonna approach her and let her take my lace. Oh, I'm dead.
Yeah. Um
I'm like, wow, you're about as dumb as that guy in the Moon Knight show.
uh but like no, that's exactly it basically. He's just like, okay, like you would think he would be a little bit smarter considering people are reporting to him or this guy is reporting to him that there is a Jedi there.
Well, and he recognizes her, right?
Yeah, that is true. He did.
Maybe that was why he disregarded her because he's like, oh, she was just a Padawan or something,
Right, she never was a Jedi.
right? I actually have thought it was interesting that so when we watch the Kenobi show, he is hunted by the Inquisitors, and they're usually like with each other, and that makes more sense to me that they'd be with each other because
Hmm.
otherwise, don't you think that the Inquisitors would lose as many members as they actually were able to kill of Jedi?
You would think so, right?
Well, especially as the Jedi they hunt continue to be huntable. Like those are the more and more sophisticated and skilled quarries that it's like you just send one random inquisitor to this place, like I guess to find out about the hunch, and then he just kills a whole town for fun. And
Right. And
I don't
then,
know, it's
well, and it's like, okay, so Ahsoka's killed him, and then Buddy never goes back to Inquisitor base camp, and they're like, oh, I guess we'll send the next guy in line out and go check on it. And then what? Ahsoka's just gonna kill him too?
yeah, they could send Dooku and Mace to retrieve the body.
So, yeah, I agree that is a little bit dumb, but really cool to see her in action again.
Right. Well, and this actually touches on the books. There's an Ahsoka book that kind
Right.
of details her time in between, like leaving, Order 66 and then becoming Fulcrum. And so this was kind of nice to see that as well.
Right. Yeah, and then it almost feels like we are getting like at the end of this one, it's almost like, okay, that's it. That's how she kind of started, and now we can lead into
Hmm.
Ahsoka,
Right. This is how she became Fulcrum.
right? And go from there.
Yeah.
So yeah, her show. I think this was a good. I like that they put this out before her show. To be honest, I think it was a good setup for it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't really even think of those two tying together. But yeah, like are we gonna get a Dooku show now?
It is interesting though, like why why Ahsoka and Dooku here? Just because Dooku fell from Jedi to Sith?
I don't know. They are part of the same tree.
I'm just curious about it. Like, what's the logic for
Hmm.
them including specifically Dooku?
I do like that both of them left the Jedi Order based on principles
Right.
and ideals.
That's a good point. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, like they're kind of it's Tales of the Jedi, but in a way they're not they're less Jedi than most Jedi.
Yeah, that is true. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, Tales of the ex-Jedi.
Yeah. Doesn't have quite the same ring to it.
Tales of the people who are no longer Jedi, but they used to be.
Definitely not the same ring.
Yeah, that's gonna be the thumbnail now.
Yeah. Yeah, so overall though, I thought it was good. I really liked I think I most I mean, I shouldn't say I most enjoyed this, but I think the length of all of it was perfectly done. It was like a mini
Yeah,
movie.
yeah. I really enjoyed the everything about it. Honestly, the gripes I had were pretty minor.
Yeah.
And I loved their attention to detail and how they were able to take a lot of the little details from other media, like from the books, from the movies, from all the different various shows,
Hmm.
and incorporate them into a very believable, very, other than like a couple weird, like Mace didn't seem that believable or whatever. Like for the most part, though, I think they nailed basically every detail, and that's not easy with so much source material to work with.
No, no, I totally agree. So it was good. I think it was a good setup. I think I'm curious about them including Dooku specifically, but other than that, I don't really have a complaint about it. I definitely liked
No,
Ahsoka's side more though.
yeah, I liked it better. I mean, I like Ahsoka's character better.
Yeah, that's fair.
At the end of the day, Dooku was like, well, maybe at some point you were like kind of a good-ish person, and now you're just evil. Like you just kill people all the time for no reason, really, other than your whims. So, you
Sad.
know, yeah, it's like, oh, I'll watch the version of you being slightly better. Oh, you still like trying to kill random people because based on your whims? Okay, maybe not.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. So, any last thoughts about Tales of the Jedi?
I don't think so. I think we kind of hit it all. Do you have any?
Mm, no, it was good. I would welcome more,
Yeah,
to be honest.
yeah. I would like to see more of that for like other Jedi characters and stuff too.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like it would be kind of fun to see, you know, a Plo Koon arc or something. I
Yeah,
don't know.
just add in whoever. Add
Or
in
Yoda.
yeah, Yoda, Mace. You could do a Qui-Gon one. You could do whatever.
I've always thought it was cool. It would be cool if they so right now they're doing the High Republic
Hmm.
for like books and everything. It's like 200 years previous, and Yoda is still the Grand Master of the Jedi.
Hmm.
In all these books, and then acolyte's going to show like that's going to be like will almost certainly be an acolyte, and the show end that's like 200 years ago. It would be fun to see then them do another show or series on 200 years before that and see Yoda's like gradual, you know.
His like gradual ascent to it.
Yeah,
Yeah. That could be entertaining.
it might be. It'd be kind of, to me, it would be fun.
Mhm.
But it would be fun to see Tales of the Jedi with, I don't know, Yoda is real hit and miss for me. Sometimes I'm like, okay, you're just gonna do your little like spinny things with your lightsaber and do his
Yeah.
like, so some of that's not that interesting, but I would like to get some more a deeper insight into Yoda though. It would be cool.
Hmm. Yeah, I think
Potentially.
they could easily do this with some others. So.
Oh, well, my final comment in the third Qui-Gon episode,
Hmm.
uh,
Third,
Qui-Gon,
third Dooku.
Dooku.
So episode 4.
Yeah, so they're giving the Jedi to, oh, hold on. I don't remember. Oh no, it's the first one, the first Dooku one. And so they're giving the Jedi Master second one. It doesn't matter. The set. They're giving the Jedi to the Flame or whatever. They're in the funeral thing, and Mundi
Hmm.
has a huge hood that goes all the way up to the top of his cone head. It's just
Yeah.
real ridiculous looking and awesome.
He needs one. He's got a huge cone head.
I know. Like they had to custom build it. They're like, oh, this hood wouldn't work for you. Go
Hmm.
talk to the tailor and have her make something that's more appropriate for your head size.
Uh, poor Mundi. It's
So
fine.
like we totally promised we wouldn't ever laugh
Hmm. Totally.
at
Totally.
you. Yeah, totally. Totally a conehead hoodie. It's really awesome.
Poor guy.
Like, how ridiculous does it look if he's not wearing the hood itself, too? Like, it just like droops, it just like keeps going. Like, good. Like his hood goes all the way down to his butt,
Oh
you know.
man.
Anyway, so all right, I think I'm good. I'm all talked out.
Yeah, I
Maybe.
think that's it. And then we can call it and I guess we'll watch Willow.
Yeah. Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, Willow, or if people dissuade us on the Discord server,
Hmm.
we'll do whatever they say. We'll be clay in their hands
Oh boy.
as long as they pick the thing we want to watch.
So within reason. Cool.
Yep.
All right. That's it.
All right, guys. Deuces.